My mates go. Second. All right. If I put that on, no. In the background. Design, and I'm just going to make sure I don't have a background. Background off, maybe. Default graphics, hide. Yeah, do that one. That's better. All right. Let's make this full screen. Read mode. Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Rap Raven. And now I'm going to see if I can switch it. Yep, that is the full screen. This is Betterment Broadcast. I'm your host, Rap Raven. This is the 147th show. That's right. So tell your friend we're live. And 147 attempts at trying to work with the Black community to find solutions. How good is that? Sounds fantastic, right? Yeah, I bet it does. All right. So, what are we? Let's go for our normal intro. So, we're going to read our freestyle statements. That's very important. When it comes to work as a collective with only Black people on matters that benefit Black issues, Black progression, and Black ownership, Black people are collectively inadequate. Yep, we struggle with these things. Yeah, we need to work on that. Individually, you might find a non-Black person who shows some kind of camaraderie towards Black people. However, collectively, Black people have no friends. That's right. When it comes to expecting other groups to fix our issues, it ain't gonna happen because we don't have any collective allies like that. No. You might have one or two, or three or four, but generally, as a collective, no. And last but by no means least, which is very important, very, 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 very important. A constructive Black man with constructive Black woman makes a constructive Black family. Let's not forget that. Let's definitely not forget that. Very important truth there. All right. So, we send out the links as we always do. We invite the community to jump in on board and get involved. That's what it's about. It's really not about my voice. I'm here more so as a mediator to help the community and find out what we need and how to network and all that good stuff. But when we do throw out the link and people come in, please don't forget the 4D values, which is discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. Now, this is something we're going to go over today because we are asking a question about the conscious community. And we're going to wondering, should these disciplines be pushed forward? Very good idea. Let's see, but we'll get there when we get there. Also, we cannot use profanity if we can at this episode, possibly. Fine enough, that's connected to the topic as well. But on this show, we won't be using profanity, especially when we talk to each other. Not a good idea. All right. And then for those who don't know, those who are new, or those listening on recorded future shows, or the first time you're hearing, what is Black Betterment? Black Betterment is Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment. There you go. That's what Black Betterment is. It's a lifestyle. So we promote the lifestyle of Black Betterment on this show. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to show some videos. They don't belong to us. They're from they're used for copyright, not copyright, for what should we say, scholarship and reporting purposes. So yeah, that's so you know it's not our videos. And please don't forget to check out the Black Betterment Building Instagram page. Oh, very good. Very good indeed. Please don't forget to check it out when you get time. All right, cool. So two topics today, but it's more of an amalgamation of one that's split into two, sort of. So the first one is, how should the Black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members? Very important topic. Something we want to cover. We've covered before, but we want to flesh it out more. It's actually a very, very important, serious topic. So we definitely want to flesh it out. And obviously, this is kind of connected. Should pro-Black conscious public speakers curse and use profanity on conscious platforms? Should pro-Black conscious public speakers, very long word there, tongue twister. Should pro-Black conscious public speakers curse and use profanity on conscious platforms? Let's unpack that, shall we? Two things. So the first one is, how should the Black community react to sexual abuse claims against the public members? Well, one thing we try to do is we identify that at times there might be a disconnect between men and women in the black community, and we try to highlight that, and we approach things very differently. One thing we were trying to do is make sure that obviously women and children are protected, definitely from abuse. But when they report it, we want to make sure that as men, we're automatically supportive. We understand that sometimes false claims are made, and some people lead with that, and they want to get the evidence first. However, we should still have a kindness, tendency, tender approach to a person who has pushed forward charges, and it's very important. You know, we have this. Sometimes we're very cold in our delivery, and this is definitely not what we want to be doing. It's a very serious case. So we're going to try to unpack that and see what it is. Sometimes it might be disconnect, and sometimes more so when you have these kind of platforms where they're very, very quick, half an hour show, sensationalized stuff. People just say things that could be very hurtful, especially the victims and the historical victims are people connected to the victims of such acts. So as men trying to reclaim manhood, we definitely want to work together to make sure we're not upholding those problematic behaviors. Also, it also ties into should black pro-conscious public speakers curse use profanity on conscious platforms. Just overall content, but we're going to look at some videos. And what I've highlighted is, unfortunately, there are many what people describe as what they call the conscious community. And it's very hard to really flesh out what that actually means. And definitely what it meant, in the 80s and 90s might not be what it means in the 2000s. As in, what I'm noticing is there's a very like slapdash kind of cowboy hip, shoot from the hip, low self esteem um, speakers who what tends to happen is they learn a lot about ancient Africa and things that's happened to black people and this, I guess, when they talk this way, or religious or black religious stuff, whatever. When they talk this way, they earn the title conscious, and I understand where that comes from. But it's like they say conscious, but it's like they grew up on parental discretion advised music and 18 movies, and it becomes very normalized where everything they're saying is profanity and insults. And then if they ever get into a cussing match or disagrees with someone who doesn't agree with them, they then end up sounding like some kind of battle rap hip hop kind of underground record or something, right? And I think when you have the term conscious community, we need to be very wary of what that is. And it's kind of connected to the case study I want us to do today. I don't actually have all the footage, but you just have to take my word for some of the things I'm going to say, and then we can find out at a later time. But what it is at the moment, how we're going to try to delve into this very important topic is we're going to look at some of the histories of sexual abuse in the community. And what it is we get this unfortunate scenario where you have very charismatic and seemingly well-to-do black we see managers or leaders, whichever term you want to use. And when you have such a downtrodden people, these charisma can really raise people up and almost give like a cult of personality to some of these leader groups or management people. And what happens? Some people just leave a certain kind of, I don't use the term common sense, but I use common sense by the waistline and just start following blindly. And within this, sometimes abuse can move forward. It usually comes from ego. Many black people are not used to responsibility or used to being listened to, and when they get it, they push as far as they can. And there are also many people who have many vices in their life, many shortcomings, and many transient ailments that haven't been rectified, and they find themselves in a leadership position, and they lead with those kind of mindsets. Oh yeah. Mm-mm. So we observe it and we try to correct it in the shadows and the backgrounds. Some people don't like talking about it, but we're going to do it today because I think we kind of need to draw the line in the sand, and we need to have like the expectations of what a pro-black conscious person should be behaving like in the public eye. We spoke about custodians before, these black custodians. So, how should we be? So the case study we're going to do is a few years ago, there was a brother called Brother Polite, and he's based in America. Very interesting case study. And the reason why we're going to case study him is because he's got a case coming up at the moment, but he's also connected to an old case study that I don't think we really flushed out too much in the past because of ties to other people groups and this kind of stuff. But what happened is there's a current case going with this brother called Brother Polite, and he's been charged with sexual, I think, molestation or battery or both. Um, and what's happened? His case was meant to be today, and I think people tried to log in live to hear the verdict, but somehow they managed to turn it off. I think he got, maybe I'm assuming he got some kind of privacy stuff. I'm not too sure. So it's a shame because it was good to know the verdict. But before the verdict, there was a lot of problematic evidence that we're going to unpack. So what we're going to do, how should I do it? Let me get you to know the case, and then I'm going to do some backtracking. And remember that the idea of this is to protect black women and children, um, especially from harm, whether it's sexually or physically, and also to have black men stand up and be the first line of defense when this comes on, and having a unified way of dealing with these claims that doesn't have the victims feel belittled, like it's their fault, um, regardless of regardless of how powerful the accuser is, or how much charisma they have, or what they've done. Now, we never want to undermine a constructive thing a black person does for the community. However, we still have to have our principles and morals, and we have to have the person that we are most with when egregious behaviors happen. And that's what we're trying to flush out this show. So tell your friend, tell a friend we're doing it today. If you have any stories and stuff, feel free to jump in, or any opinions. You're always welcome to jump in. The links in the group. We're going to now see if I can find one of those videos. So give me 79 seconds. Hold on to find it. Where is it? I think it's this one. Add source. Yeah, that's the one. All right. Let's see if I can find this video. What one show? Shows 147th show. Excellent. That's good. Filing. Sounds good. Right. So which one should let me see. I'm just going to see if I can see which one. I think it's this one. What? No, it's not that one. So we're using a guy. There's a brother called O'Shea Jackson, I think, something like this, and we're using his stuff. So yeah, it's his footage. Okay, here we go. Now, if I press that one.
So the people that are spreading this rumor, I'm asking you out of respect to my family.
That's the brother Polite. I think his name is Mr. Novak or something like Michael, no, something like this. Novak. I assume he's from the East Coast of America. He might live in the West Coast. We're gonna do, we're gonna try to follow him. We're not saying he's guilty, but we're gonna unpack the evidence that's there, and let's see why we're using him as a case study. So let's listen to. I think this is off. So basically, he's committed this alleged crime, and I think he's not best pleased that people don't believe him, and he's talking, but the O'Shea Jackson gentleman is going to try to do his kind of segment over this. So let's have a listen. It might take 5 minutes or so while I drink my tea.
Respect to my wives, respect to my children, because you clearly hate me. And you clearly hate me more than you have any love for another child.
The situation where Brother Polite is getting very interesting, and many people are on the internet making videos. Now, Brother Polite, if you did not know who he is, he's a part of the larger conscious community. I first saw him through Sonnetter. He was really going on strong, or coming on strong, in like 2014, 2015. Like I said, getting a lot of views on YouTube, Instagram following. He ended up leaving New York after which, and became somewhat of basically a social media celebrity. He kind of denounced the hood that he was from. He then started acting in weird ways. And one of the things that Brother Polite...
Let me add some further context. I came across him on a platform called Sonnetter TV, I think it was. And he spoke really well. And like with many of them guys, they used to debate about what religion is true, or what religion black people should have. And then, highlighting mistreatment white people do to black people. And he seemed to have that kind of topic going on. But then when he got a bit of fame, he moved, I think, to, I want to say, California, or them kind of places. I'm not too familiar with America. And I think his context started changing. Before, he's very pro-black, very anti-white, you could say. He might deny this. But then he started, I think he's a polygynist, and he's got more than one wife. And he would openly have women on his platform. But then I think he became very money-orientated. I think he had philosophies of how to get money. kind of like Creflo Dollar, I guess, to an extent. And also women. He wanted more women. That was his thing. And then he started having European women, which was also a shock because he was from the pro-black community. This kind of stuff. So a lot of people disconnected from him, and that was his new kind of almost like wrestling persona, I guess. But then obviously people still followed him because he did certain kind of he sold certain things. But I'll let this gentleman explain what he was trying to sell.
Is known for allegedly is scamming. He's a plagiarist. He steals people ideas, what they say about him, but also a crazy scammer. He uses people, all of that, and he is very manipulative. Now, he also has a prior criminal record, but that's not what we're talking about today. Those are just some of the allegations leading up to that. But Brother Polite and one of his, I believe, wives had a daughter. And of course, he was, we're trying to say it without getting canceled here on YouTube, accused of rape of a 14.
He wasn't accused of rape. I think it was sexual battery and sexual molestation, as far as I'm aware.
18-year-old. And of course, it was all on the news. It was all on social media. And this is interesting because Brother Polite comes out of the same camp as Dr. York, who's also in prison right
now. So those are Dr. York. This is another thing a lot of people don't really talk about too much because he was a very successful brother, a black man, who successfully managed to make to build up a small community of black people who try to essentially disconnect, I guess, from the system and create their own kind of existence and sustainability in some place in America. And it was, I guess, going well. But one of the issues was there was lots of charges against him for sleeping with. First, it was loads of women and the wives of the members, and I think that could be something you could maybe brush past, or maybe not. But it depends on the lifestyle of how adults want to live or not live. But you could see that could be a form of abuse if people didn't want that kind of behavior. But more egregiously, more problematically, there was claims of underage boys and girls saying he had sexually molested them and these kinds of things, which is never good. And it came to a point where he was arrested for quite a long time, 150 years. And I think they go on because of sexual transmitted diseases that only the kid said that he had, something like this. I could be wrong. We're trying to find a documentary at some point. But obviously, people were saying it was a conspiracy or the government, was trying to shut him down. And I think this is true. I think any kind of black people come together, there's going to be high interest of the black of the government trying to shut things down and anti-black institutions trying to dismantle any kind of black progress. However, regardless of how true that might be, if you are in fact guilty of such acts, then this is a problem. And you can't thrive as a community of this. So that's a little back of what was alleged to happen to Dr. York, who's in jail at the moment, who they say was a big influence on the brother we're doing a case study on
right now. And one of the allegations against him was that he was also messing with people that were underage. But since this news has come out, Brother Polite has taken to Instagram to deny these allegations against him. Let's play that clip of Brother Polite and then we'll come back.
Peace to the family. So I'm just here to address some popular rumors that have been spread to rectify the matter. There's been a rumor spread. There's two main rumors that's been spread. But the main rumor is that I have pled guilty to child molestation. So let me clear up the two things that need to be addressed. Did I make a plea? There's been no plea. Did I plead guilty? Never did. So the people that are spreading this rumor, I'm asking you out of respect to my family, respect to my wives, respect to my children, because you clearly hate me. And you clearly hate me more than you have any love for another child. So I ask you guys to respectfully stop spreading rumors. I never made a plea, and I never pled to no damn. So no matter how much you want to believe it, no matter how much you want to propagate it, no matter how much it excites you to say that, it's absolutely false. I never made a plea, and I never pled to no damn. So these two things need to be rectified right now. There are no pleas on my behalf, and I have not pled to no damn.
I think a lot of people were a bit concerned because he hasn't denied any of the accusations. And for those who don't know, I don't think I've mentioned it, but one of the most damning things was they found his semen on the clothing of a 14-year-old, and that was like the most damning thing. And she was bruised and disorientated. And one of the things that they said is she was intoxicated with some kind of either drugs or alcohol, or maybe both. And they were speculating that maybe he was either trying to make her sick up the drugs or trying to get some kind of sexual interactions with her outside of traditional sex. So this is what the speculation was, and I think people are waiting for the verdict. And today was going to be the verdict, but somehow the streaming, I think maybe someone took the streaming down. I think that I was listening to it, and the judge said there's a lot of people on Zoom, and then something was said, and then it cut down. I don't know what's happening. So who knows? But yeah, let me carry on listening.
So please stop the freaking rumors. The last thing I'm going to address very quickly. This means that people are lying. If I was lying, you would be able to find something that contradicts what I'm saying. I made no plea, and there is no plea for child molestation on my behalf. I never plead to no child molestation, and I never made a plea in the first place. These are lies. These are lies. And that's it. Now, you could try to turn it into a conversation about, but what you should say is this and what you should say is that. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I ain't paid 6 figures for a defense, for me to be out here speaking on my own behalf during a wild-ass situation. Now, the white man is the goddamn devil to you guys all the damn time, every day around the week. Until he says something about someone that disagrees with your religion or your politics. Lastly, before I get off this live, I just want to address the likes of this guy, just finding out who he is. Hold on.
Skip some of
that. Right there.
Now, information from now. I want to play another clip from a YouTuber. I do like the guy. His name is What Happened to Common Sense. Guy's name is Eli. Very smart YouTuber, and what he pretty much does is he kind of exposes frauds, and he also does a lot of exposés on people in the conscious community, like Brother Polite. Now, Brother Polite, it looks like he's lying. He said he hasn't pled to anything, but let's play this information from What Happened to Common Sense, and then we're going to come back.
And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are going to be discussing what's going on with Brother Polite. He went live today on Instagram, and boy, did he have a lot to say. And see, his position and stance in the video clearly lacks humility, clearly lacks accountability, deflecting, and outright just being deceptive and playing on words and semantics and trying to play the game that, well, I didn't plead guilty to anything. There is no plea. Literally. Now, what I have right here in front of you is the actual court case information. And we can look at the docket. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. And see, this just speaks to the deceptive and manipulative nature of a Brother Polite. This speaks to his character to even go live and to try to play with the people's intelligence this way. So, right here, the name is Michael Nowick. That's Brother Polite's name. This is his date of birth. Okay. And if we come down here, we can see this is his attorney. Where is he at? Right here, defense attorney, David Taras or Taras. And we can see these are.
Welcome, family. I haven't been seeing your messages. I've got a new setup, so I've just missed off these. But welcome, everyone. Big up Kushti, Sister Kushti. Big up Lady Divine. Big up Nanifa. Big up Brother Dominic. Big up everyone listening live, and Sister She Reigns and Brother Bing. Today's topic we are talking about is how should the Black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members. My area of interest in this more so is towards men, as in how men react towards the case and how they assure Black women and children that they can comfortably come out and they'll feel protected, not belittled and begrudged. I think that there needs to be much training in the community, And I think this word conscious community, I think it has this very kind of like hip hop battle reformed image, black exploitation kind of branding thing going on where effing and blinding and N word is used all the time, even when they're arguing. So and so when this goes on and people are making claims about sexual abuse and stuff, it's not the kind of environment that you want to create to make a person feel safe. But we're looking at a case study now of a brother known as Brother Polite, who's been accused of sexual molestation and sexual battery, I believe. And I believe his case was going to be concluded today, but I don't know what it was because they shut it down, the video stream. But we're looking at what people thought about him before, and also he had his history of going from one kind of content to a more like the white person's a devil, pro-black kind of very in your face rhetoric, to what seeking money and being around European women and trying to be rich. This is something he moved to, which is his thing. That's what he wants to do. Don't think that's really a conscious community kind of content, but that's his freedoms. But then also, I believe they say he moved into selling things that people did not receive, and this could qualify being a scam. So I was thinking that when it comes to black people in the public eye, the two most damning dangerous things I always see is, I guess, sexual deviancy is one, and this could be correlated with, sleeping with children, pretty much sleeping with children, or some kind of, I don't know. That seems to. I'm looking at the data now. I would say children. I sleep with underage people, whether it be male or female. And then the other issues is scams. Promising something, not delivering. Doing campaigns and disappearing for money, not honoring your word when it comes to finance. So these are two major things that maybe we should cover them as actual topic, because me personally, that plus I guess profanity presentation is what undermines many attempts. And what, for my research, what it comes down to is a lot of people who try to fix the community are people who are victim of the communities, as in like they come from a very harsh background and they haven't cured from this harshness, and they still have it within them. So they want to talk about Black history, but effing and blinding and competing with each other, this kind of thing. So anyway, let's carry on listening while I drink my tea. If you got any questions, let us know.
Are the charges? You have lewd and lascivious molestation, which is the felony. Lewd and lascivious molestation, 2 counts. You have lewd and lascivious conduct with the child that's less than 16. You have lewd and lascivious exhibition with an individual less than 16. And contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Those are the 5 charges that he currently has. Now, if we come down here to the docket, this is very, very important. Let me zoom in here so you can understand this. It says that there is a motion for continuance filed. And don't worry, we're going to get to the video footage of his attorney, right, the defense, and the prosecution talking about a plea agreement. So now, right here, sequence 126 on 6/21/2023, it says report for plea.
The family, I believe I put the link in the group. I'm using new software, so I hope it's worked. If you should jump in and have any kind of say, you're always welcome about the case study we're doing, which is Brother Polite case study, any kind of historical things we might have missed or anything you're picking up on. You're always welcome to jump in, be constructive. We are dealing with a very sensitive topic, and that is how should the Black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members? So let's carry on listening.
Is set for 7/7/2023 at 9 a.m. Now, one thing that Brother No Light said that was true. We don't know what he pled guilty to or what the attorney has agreed to for him to plead guilty to.
Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Make the algorithm go so we can get more people who can work on constructive solutions.
Because, see, he wants to play the word game.
Right.
Well, as of today, I have not pled guilty. Understand, and see, this is why I know that many of you are slow. And you hate when I say these things. If your attorney and the prosecution, the state, they get together and they deliberate, The whole purpose of your attorney is to negotiate on your behalf to come up with some type of a deal. So, even though you may not plead guilty to one or some of these charges, we know whatever was negotiated is related to these 5 charges. See, when the whole purpose of the legal system is your attorney's going to go in there, he's going to argue, and then he's going to get the information, the evidence that they have on you. And then what's going to happen is the prosecution is going to come to you with some type of a plea deal. Understand, your attorney negotiates on your behalf before you are there. So when they talk about a plea agreement was reached, that means that you accepted the plea. You just have not took it under oath yet. But now, because see, again, people want to play, and I'm not here to play. So let's play the court footage, and let's actually hear the prosecution, his defense attorney, and the judge talk about this alleged plea agreement.
With any final thoughts, let's go.
Your Honor, if I may, prior to starting the Nelson hearing, it's possible to call a case on
Sure.
On page 13 of Your Honor's calendar, Michael Noah,
You're
reading draft on behalf of the state.
all right, page 13. Counsel, state your name for the record.
David Terrace on behalf of the defendant, Michael Noah.
Okay, thank you. And
So let's be clear here. David Taras, on behalf of the defendant, Michael Nowick, because see, you want to play games. I'm not here to play games with you. Defense.
Those just joining, we're looking at the topic: how should the Black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members? We're using a individual known as Brother Polite, who's based in America. He's been accused of sexual molestation, sexual battery, I believe, and because he was a public speaker and have observed how people have been divided on how to approach it. I think it's a good case study to do with the overall goal of trying to provide Black women and children safety nets and safe spaces and the feel of support when they come forward. I'm by no means saying that this individual is guilty. However, when you see the evidence, it is very strong against him. And I guess the best we can do is wait for the verdict, but the evidence is very strong against him. For those who know, the evidence was his semen stains were caught and tracked on the young 14-year-old girl. And so it's quite damning. And that's something that no one seems to be talking about when they either defending or trying to wait for a verdict. And that's what I'm saying. We need to know how to talk about these things and not undermine or belittle the potential victims or victims in the situation. A few more minutes of this, and then we'll move on.
Attorney David Torres. So now, what you want? You want people to believe that this is Photoshop? That this ain't the real, actual black and white documentation here?
So, guys, I want to really deal with what happened to Common Sense, what he said in that particular video. Brother Polite is a grifter, in my honest opinion. This is not uncommon in the Black conscious community. We've seen it with people like Young Pharaoh, Brother Polite, a lot of lying to people in them, at the behest of Black consciousness and things like that. But it appears that Brother Polite has some level of guilt in these things, although he's acting like he is not guilty of these things, even though he is going to make a plea in July. And if you want to look at what happened to Common Sense's video, it definitely, he actually plays the video of the judge, and they have sent the information over to the DA. And me being a part of the conscious community, I wasn't the Black manosphere, and I'm still very associated in some way or another with Black manosphere, and I've always been somewhat associated with the conscious community. I'm just more involved with the greater Pan-African world. We do have, just like any other community, misfits, liars, cheats, and the thing about that is this.
One of the problems with the conscious community I've seen across the board, across the pond, and all that, and everywhere, is, and it's something that we should address. It really is this kind of how they act when they're angry is how they act when they're happy, and it's hard to discern. It really is kind of like a cowboy slapdash, effing and blinding profanity fest. And a lot of people think, well, this you sound like a broken record. But what I've noticed is in this situation, this brother was arguing with another brother, and the other brother started then. This is in a past disagreement. Started calling him a pedophile and all these kind of names like that. But these charges only seem to come after they disagreed on an argument, rather than if you felt this way about someone, you would try to distance yourself and warn people if you felt that to be true. And here's the thing: it's I don't know. It's almost like a certain level of common sense isn't really applicable to so many brothers and sisters in the community. Like it's very odd, and I think that's where we can maybe help them. Like let them give them certain codes of way to behave. And I think maybe some people are desensitized. I'm assuming a lot of paedophilia acts maybe go on in certain communities, and it's normalized. And if that's the case, this needs to be corrected. Like this is not a normal way how people can thrive. To just expect this to be happening, and it's normal. And it's in, a lot of these kind of paedophilia acts that's come out in the last 10 years seem to be connected to people who know other people, more so in the States, but obviously this goes on all over the world. So yeah, it's just something to do. I'm just gonna let me say hey to welcome Empress Kush. I think you're on. I think I've turned you on. That Berman. Oh. Well, we'll wait for her to find a microphone. We're joined by Empress Kush, who's just listening to the back, but when she's ready to speak, she will. Okay, chat overlay. Yeah, so let's listen to the last few seconds of this, and then we'll listen to another video that we're gonna look at from a historical standpoint, just so we can how we can paint the picture of people who come up who speak in the public community and see if they have content from the past. How does this content paint a picture of them, and does it paint that picture of them good enough for us to make a decision that maybe we shouldn't be giving them money or time, or they're not ready, or they haven't reformed themselves to actually do any kind of work. But we'll see in a bit. Let's listen to the end.
The sad part is that a lot of good black people believe frauds like this. Guys who don't have a real business acumen, guys who are just using the followers, when the message is, support black people, the black community, the black woman is God, and yet you see these guys engaging in the self-deviancy and getting people to pay their bills, and they're living off luxury, off people that have worked hard for the money. And then not only that, you're out here allegedly doing this sort of other stuff, which is also very sad. And I just want to say that like people like Brother Polite and these guys like this, they really give Pan-Africanism, the conscious community, Black power movements, things like, they get it a bad name because now the frauds have come into the market. And that happened once we started losing the Dr. John Henry Clarks, the Dr. Amos Wilsons, people like the A.G. Gassons, the builders of the black community. They got replaced by the.
Yeah, this is something we have to highlight, like the behavioral patterns and the skill and the actual learned skill and discipline that many of the past scholars had, that we should be pushing forward. We're at that time of like the YouTube world where a person can make a stream. If they get popular, they can claim to be certain things. But I think as a community, we should, and this is why on this show we try to we limit profanity. We don't practice it unless we're doing a case study on it. And I know a lot of people might think, "What are you talking about? Profanity is normal. I do it in front of my children, all this kind of stuff." I understand that, but we're trying to highlight that when you let one thing go, the next thing goes, and before you know, it's hard to track deviancy. It's hard to track problematic behavior because it becomes like one whole gesture. It becomes like, just the forward momentum of degradation. So yeah, this is something I'm going to stop it on here now. If Empress Kush wants to say anything, by all means you can, but I think she might be sorting out her microphone if she might be busy with her task at home or something. But she can always jump in when she wants, and for all those there, you guys can jump in by clicking on the link whenever time you want. I'm thinking this is
right. Can you hear me, bro?
I can hear you now. Fantastic.
Okay, it's looking a bit different around here.
Is it the first time you've seen the blue screen? The blue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We jumped ship because the last one didn't play videos for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I like it. I'll be adaptable to change
course.
and all of that.
Of course, that's what it is. That's what it is.
I like to see that,
There you go.
Leading by example.
Exactly.
But Black Betterment and Black
Black
Betterment to
Betterment.
the family in the chat as well.
Yeah. So, what just to highlight, just so you know what we're trying to do with today's show. The topic is how should the Black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members, and we're using this guy called Brother Polite as a case study. He's currently waiting judgment. I think he's been happening already, but I don't know what the conclusion was about a sexual molestation and sexual battery charge. He was famous, not famous, but in what they call the conscious community in America, he was like a public speaker who would debate against other religions and talk about why the white man is the devil, this kind of stuff. And yeah, but he kind of changed his narrative when he became popular, for whichever reason, and that's his freedom. But also, there was a lot of
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, yes, there was a lot of scam claims pushed against him. I think he claimed to make 90 books and sell, like, I think they call it correctional. He had some kind of document that allowed a person who was arrested or something to be able to travel somewhere, something like this. I don't know. And some other things he was selling, but people weren't receiving it or whatever it was. We've got one video of a man who alleged he scammed him. I think the man killed himself. I'm not too sure.
Wow.
Sadly, but in the past, I've looked at many videos of claiming the same thing, and yeah, it's just one of those things that he seems to have a history of not of owing people money and not delivering on things allegedly. But we're going to look at before he became on the scene. He used to follow a gentleman known as Malachi York, not directly him. Yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. And this is why we're going to try to connect the dots and stuff because there's a video of him talking to one of the alleged victims of Malachi York. Now, for those that know, Malachi York is now serving over 150 years, I think, in jail for, I guess, many things, but one of them was molestation and raping of children, boys and girls. And he's been convicted, and I think he did a plea where he admitted to something, and he still has followers who say it was some kind of conspiracy or something, some kind of double dealings by the government. But I think what I want.
What was that? That's the Nuwapian lot, is it? Or am I?
Yeah, that's them. Now we take our hats off to the Nuwapian community for building an independent state in America and trying to push forward a form of Black consciousness there. But what I'm noticing, this is what I said before, the two issues that seem to plague the Black community is always sexual kind of degradation of some kind, abuse, and also scamming. These two major things that we have to be aware of. And I understand that people don't like us highlighting, shortcomings of certain people, but I think we need to draw a line in the sand and say, where do we stand on the abuse of children and women? With like, as a community, how should we react to it? And how I'm seeing some people react to, or many people react to, the claims, where it almost comes to victim blaming. But before I talk on, we're going to look at this brother before he actually became somewhat known in what they call the conscious community. He was a follower of Dwight York, Malachi York, and he was talking to one of the victims who was a child allegedly when he was abused, him and his sister, and is now a man, or at least at the time of the video was a man, and it's what we're looking for the case study. We're looking how is he reacting to the man's claims, and let's see is he being sympathetic and is he trying to be unbiased? Is he trying to, find a solution or whatever it might be? Or is he actually what could be seen as caught in the cult of personality where where you come and you automatically defend people who do good acts in the community that you know of, so you deny anything that might be there. Now, I'm not saying yes or no, but what I'm saying is Malachi York admitted to doing stuff and he's now in jail. So maybe a new woman can come and explain that more. But since the years have gone by, I've seen hundreds of videos of people claiming they're now adults, they went through the same process, and they would talk about other people. And it seems to be quite a thing. But we're going to listen to one video now. Let me find it. Give me 17 seconds to find this video at a source, I believe. Right. So what we're looking for is how is he behaving to this person's claims, and should we behave that way? Should we behave that way when a young person or any person, man or woman, young or old, comes forward with claims of sexual abuse? Let's have a sneak peek. Oh, let me switch it. Where is it? Is it here? Hold on. New technology.
But see, when you see I'm speaking on behalf of the children or the people that had to testify.
So for those who can't see, there's two gentlemen there. One is Noak. He's not wearing a hat like he normally does. His hair's out, so he's the guy on the right. And Noak is Brother Polite, by the way. And the other guy is a gentleman who accused Malachi York of sexual assaultation. So we analyze to see the body language, the tone, the questioning, the words, to see does this brother actually care for what the man is saying, or is he wrapped up in the cult of personality, or does he just not care at all? So let's see if we can actually do a case study.
Or that testified.
Had to testify based on what that he did do something to him.
Well, I say had to testify because some people didn't testify. So some people felt it in that they had to do this, like it's something that they had to do. For me, it felt like it was something that I had to do, because one, like I told you, both of my sisters went through the same thing I went through.
And
both of my older sisters.
Do you mind sharing? I don't know nothing.
Sharing what? Okay, well, both of my sisters have been molested.
By who?
By Malachi York. By Pops, Barbara, Esau, and Mom Esau, whatever,
Okay, what is this discussion about? For those who don't know, this is a talk in a park between Brother Polite and an alleged victim of Malachi York, as in they used to live on a compound where they built up to look like ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet, and they kind of were moved away from society. And what happened is at some point there was a lot of claims that the leader or the main person in this this camp was sexually abusing. The first claims was that he was sleeping with a lot of the women's wives. That was something that I guess they agreed on to some point, maybe cult personality, or maybe they have that kind of way of interacting, who knows. But I think where it became problematic past the adult standpoint is children would then start being involved, where he was sleeping with children, boys and girls. And this gentleman here is saying that he had two sisters who were sexually molested or abused by Malachi York, and he himself was. Now we're seeing to see if Brother Polite on the right, who's now been charged with the same kind of crime today, to a 14-year-old. I think there was one claim of a 6-year-old in the past, but that never went anywhere. But it's the 14-year-old that they're waiting for now. But we're seeing how does he react to this information. He's not accused of rape. It's we have to get it right, because that's how people might be able to use words to get away from responsibility. He's accused of sexual molestation. What they're alleging is he took a young 14-year-old girl to a club, and he was given alcohol and drugs. This is what they're alleging. And he went and paid for a hotel room, maybe 10 miles away from the mum's hotel room. I think the mum believed that they had an argument, and he was taking her away to talk to her. And then when he brought her back, she seemed away with it, distant, and they found bruises around her mouth and cum stains on her semen stains, I should say, semen stains on her clothing. And then they did a police test, and then I think they arrested him for it. And now he's gone to 2 court cases, and I think they're saying he's doing a plea. And the plea was going to be today, but somehow the internet got shut down, or the Zoom got shut down when we tried to listen to it. So I don't know what happened. But what we're doing is we're looking at to see if there's we're looking to see if the case study of it, does he come across as supportive, and what is his views on such things. So we're doing our own case study now.
Yeah, I think you also said that, which was important, to look at the character of the individual in regards to just people who are public. I think you were saying in regards to that's why we're going back. So because you're saying that the pushback that you're seeing from people, you're saying it's interesting about, we're not really, these people that we are allowing to put in the front of Black leadership, we're not really looking at their characteristics. I think that was a part of Brother Raven just showing this video, just for us to see that, a way that I'm seeing it is that, the signs were there kind of thing. And just looking at, for example, with a man that's so involved in the community, when he's talking to a man that's been molested and his sisters has been molested, and looking at his response.
Yes, exactly. So we're gonna play it now. Thanks for that, sister. We're gonna play it now, and let's see if we can see these kind of traits. So let's go play.
He has sex with them, and it
At
was
what ages?
At what ages? I mean, if you want to get the accurate number, you can ask them.
Around what age? I
mean,
ain't trying
13,
to be
14, 7, 8. And I will only speak for myself as far as the personal thing that I've been through.
Of course, you.
And as far as if and I don't want to get graphic. One, okay, I'm a dude. I'm not gonna be walking around saying that I've been molested. This, and that happened. As a man, you don't want to be going around saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when in my situation or the way I grew up, I was ready to move on. I left in 2001. I was ready to just live my life, move on, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The people started doing the investigations and stuff. The FBI started doing the investigations, started trying to get statements from people. Both my sisters went ahead and gave their statements.
Yeah.
I still had nothing to do with it. No statement, no nothing. And I realized, okay, they're about to go to court. And I went through the same thing that they went through. Like, I'm my mother's only son. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the man of the family. You know what I'm saying? My sisters were going to stand up for themselves, and I'm, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, well, and then that's when I gave my statement, and that's when I decided that, that I was going to go ahead and do it. Nobody wants to see they family go get locked away. So I really understand how hard it is for people that's deeply involved in it also. And people got to understand, I was born and raised in it too. So I understand from inside out also what it feels like not to have this person around still giving leadership. So it's not no stranger, no random person that's saying, oh, this happened. I mean, this stuff, like, I was 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? I was upstate New York after Brooklyn. I was upstate New York when he first, touched me or whatever, in molested, and so
We have to remember as well, family, is because this is like a community who moved from certain parts of America, and I think more so New York and stuff. And this would have been a person who had a mother and a father, and they were in the same kind of like vicinity. So some of these children came out to complain, but the question is, where was the mother and father? We're aware that allegedly the gentleman was sleeping with the wives of some of the members. So if that was allowed, how much would they allow? I do remember a case, a European individual who's a rock guy from Wales. This is in the UK, and I forgot the name. I have to Google the name sometime. And I remember he was asking his fan to sexually abuse their own child, and then I think he got caught out or something like this. And this is what this is the kind of thing, like, once again, the kind of like the cult personality. People can put people's perversions above, I guess, their own common sense or the protection of their own children or their wives. Who knows? I don't know, but that's for you to know that a lot of these individuals actually had families, mothers and fathers who were there, not necessarily when it was going on, but they were in the vicinity, and they were able to somehow leave their child alone with these kinds of people. Or it's really just one person who's being accused of this.
From 7 to 14, 7 years that I went through this, you know what I'm saying? And that's my story.
Would you say there's been over 20 children molested by Dr. York?
I would say so. I mean, I would say that it was, if I could confirm people that I could strongly confirm, it would be about 15 or 20 people.
Obviously, if over 15 to 20 children were being molested, we have to now say, how come the adults wasn't saying nothing? Shouldn't they be locked up with Dr. York too? How come they're free to testify about it?
You understand the adults?
Now, it's interesting you say that. So what he's saying is, if there's 15 to 20 children, why didn't the adults get arrested for negligence? I think maybe something like that. I'm thinking what they could do it. When for my small research that I've done about his particular case, I know that he had 2 alleged wives or 3 wives, and as he became a bit more popular on social media, he would have more girlfriends / wives. And I believe the woman whose child it is, who's pushing the charges. I think I saw a picture of her on one of his. I think it's still there, and I think his women tend to dress very openly. You can see their flesh and this kind of stuff. And I don't know if it was real or not, but she had a polite tattoo on somewhere on her legs or this kind of stuff. So I'm not too sure how long she knew him, but a tattoo is something that you put on. I mean, I don't recommend tattoos. But obviously, people new age, trendy, this kind of thing. But this person who I don't know, not sure how long they knew him, put a tattoo of this man's name on her. So you think that obviously there's some kind of trust or respect this woman has done, and this same woman then allowed him to let me read that. Allowed him to take his child away to a club to talk to her about disrespecting the mother or something like this, and then these acts happen. So he, from his own future self, we know that parents can be quite relaxed when they're dealing with someone they really respect or really trust. Yeah, let me mute, brother. I'm just gonna mute you for 4 seconds. Can I do that? Yeah, there you go. We say back to brother Cal. We've muted you for a bit. You can jump in afterwards when your mic's quiet. Yeah. So
I just think he's got on YouTube playing in the background, bro. Brother Cal, if you just mute the YouTube you got playing, just keep on your restream tab on.
There you go. Welcome, brother Cal. So that's what he's mentioned. This Karen listening. So that's really one thing that we have to question. Should he have said it that way? Who knows?
The adults were separated from their children. So you had the girls in one house, the boys in one house, the women in one place, the brothers in one place. Everybody was separated. So it wasn't no house with a family, and then you could recognize when your child is.
So what the brothers just said, something we didn't know, is how they have their living quarters is women were in one place, men were in one place, children in another place. So that's once again we're talking about a community, like how can we live to minimize abuse? And I do see a sense on separating men and women in many scenarios, but children, I think that's where we want, like they shouldn't really be alone. That's something to think about. Obviously, this might have been used as a way to access children. Who knows?
Is gone.
You mean to tell the world that none of these children had enough sense in their mind to go tell their parent that this isn't right? I've been touched sexually. I've been sexually abused.
Let's go back.
Brothers in one place. You had everybody.
He said something that's very important. I'm just going to reverse it because this is something that we have to really observe.
It was separated, so it wasn't no house with a family.
Listen to Polite and what he says next.
And then you could recognize when your child is gone.
You mean to tell the world that none of these children had enough sense in their mind to go tell their parent that this isn't right? I've been touched sexually. I've been sexually abused. Not one child out of all these children. It could have stopped so long ago if just one child.
So the term he used, are you telling me that these children never had enough sense in their mind to tell their parents? That doesn't seem to be. I don't know if that's the best way to deliver that kind of information when you're talking about abuse, like questioning the sense of children, especially children. Ms. Karen Liston.
Or just one adult. What caused all of this to come out? First, you hear nothing from nobody. Yeah. You hear nothing from nobody. Then you hear something from everybody, all at the same time.
They might not have been the medium to talk to anybody about the situation.
Not even their parents.
I mean, of course. I could have told my mother.
But you chose not to.
It's not that I chose not to. To really explain it would really take a lot. But I mean, you're not really yourself when you're not. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no esteem. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no. You know what I'm saying? You can't even face, like, my mother had to, when she found out from my sister and she came to me and asked me about it, and I still really couldn't even tell her. I had to say, well, I had sex with the girl and he was there. And that was my way of telling her that, yeah, it happened. You know what I'm saying? But that's when the initial conversation, and this is like 2 weeks before we left. It was something I was under. I couldn't tell my mom. I didn't tell nobody. It was something that held me to not say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because I looked up to him as my dad, because I looked up to him as the person that he was. I thought he was a God figure. I thought he, and all those reasons, like, I'm trying to, like, see what why is this going on? What's the significance? I'm young. I don't even know what really in the sex, and I don't.
Why do you think he's locked up for 135 years, underground 60 feet, in a super max penitentiary with no one with a case likened to his own, amongst cannibals? Not because what you think he should be locked up for, why you think he's locked up.
Well, I mean, to answer your question in the way that I think you're asking it, you know what I'm saying? Because one, you have a black leader that was getting black people together and was building a sovereign
let's do this. So remember, two things can be right at one time. So any black person who finds a way to create a community or a sustainable living method and takes black people mass away can always be under threat and can always be they can always try to find ways to undermine, arrest, and throw away. This is true. We know this, right? But that doesn't excuse the fact that if this individual is actually molesting children or harming children continuously like a predator, then this is not sustainable. This is lifelong in damage, and regardless of if they add extra 50 years or take extra 50 years away, the crime is still committed, and we need to focus on how to protect the children, heal the children, and prevent these acts from happening again, regardless of how long a person gets or why he got it for what he might have done in the past or not. Okay, let's go.
Tell me if this is something you believe. That's not what I want to hear. What do you personally believe, dealing with the facts of the matter? Not denying you of your experience, but based on what we all know, what is necessary to lock a person up when you accuse them of these type of things.
What I know from history is that whenever you have a black leader that's uplifting the people, that's doing something for the community, that's bringing people together, and that's building people and elevating people, then they get taken down. You know what I'm saying? And he wouldn't have been taken down, and he hasn't been taken down until they found something that to take him down with. If he threw everything away by molesting kids, did he really care about everybody else? This is what I have to live with. I have to live with how do I come across the people.
So this interview it's only I would say 5 more minutes.
That's in the knowledge.
Anytime.
No. I was asking because some people seem to know the story as well. I was just asking how old is how long ago?
How
yes,
old?
I was asking how old the interview was done. Roughly.
There's 5 minutes left, but as and when it was done a few years before Brother Polite became on the conscious community, as in, so I would say around about the 2000 and something, right? And in that time, he was like a Nubian, but he was a Nubian after the fact. So after the Nubians got shut down, there was like a movement of Nubians who had bookstores and this kind of thing, and he was one of them. So that and then he went from that to his new philosophy. I think he calls it New Covenant.
Okay.
And he has some new philosophy about loving money and women, and now white women as well.
Okay, thank you.
So let's just carry on playing. Any other questions? Feel like jumping in, family. The link's there. We're joined by King Kel and Sister Empress Kush, and we're just doing a case study on how should the black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members, and we're case studying an individual known as Brother Polite, who's been accused of sexual molestation to a 14-year-old girl of a woman who was allegedly his wife or girlfriend, this kind of thing.
And even vibe with them and
the daughter of the woman, not the woman.
Talk to them on a regular level, and people looking at me one way.
Nah, that's all good. You can always come to a class of ours.
That's cool, but you know what I'm saying. But it is. But see, the thing is that
it don't make you a bad person.
At the end of the day, people's always gonna have his word over anybody else's word because that's all they know.
No, at the end of the day, he's locked up, so obviously they took your word over everyone else's. It doesn't matter. Like I told you, if we say.
So for me, just understand the bait stuff. This is a passive aggressive technique. It's like he's not assuring the individual about his story or claim. He's just saying, well, it doesn't really matter what you say if it's right or wrong because clearly the police thought it was wrong. So it's a very interesting way of communicating in this topic.
He's innocent when he's still locked up in prison. Y'all word accounted for everything.
Well, I can't go back. You know what I'm saying? I can only face what's in front of me. And everything that's in front of me, I see people that's being misled. I see people that's under.
Sorry, Brother Raven.
And even.
Sorry, do you mind just rewinding it a couple of seconds? I just want to hear why he did that response. Polite did that response on him. Just a few seconds.
Yeah.
Everyone else, it doesn't matter. Like
and even vibe with them and talk to them on a regular level, and people looking at me one way.
Nah, that's all good. You can always come to a class of ours.
That's cool, but you know what I'm saying. But
so what he's just said is, since coming out, people have ridiculed him, and he said, "Oh, but you can." So Brother Polite said, "Oh, but you can also come to our class." Just for me understanding body language and how people communicate debates, it doesn't come across as he's really connecting with the brother. It seems like there was a hint of frustration there. But once again, I could be wrong. I'm not in the man's mind.
It is, but see, the thing is that
it don't make you a bad
at the
person.
end of the day, people's always gonna have his word over anybody else's word because that's all they know.
You know, at the end of the day, he's locked up, so obviously they took y'all word over everyone else's. It doesn't matter, like I told you, if we say he's innocent, when he's still locked up in prison. Y'all word accounted for everything.
What I can't go.
So did you see that aggressive tone? He said, obviously, and your word account for everything. So it's almost like he's playing both fences on if someone's guilty or not, but at the same token, saying it doesn't matter. It's a very, very interesting way to talk about this particular topic, and this is part of the topic as well. How should Black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members? Definitely not like that. I recommend we don't do that. Let's carry on listening.
You know what I'm saying? I can only face what's in front of me. And everything that's in front of me, I see people that's being misled. I see people that's under the impression, and even though
being misled by what? Because people are saying
Doc
is being railroaded. That people are saying none of this has to do with the case as far as the government is concerned. The government don't give a damn about the accusations.
Saying that
are you hearing what I'm saying?
You got people saying that kids haven't been molested. I can't see what you're seeing. I can't see the. I know what happened to me. I know what he did. I know what kind of person he is. You know what I'm saying? So
what kind of person he is? That's a question I want to ask you. What kind of person is Dr.
I mean, you get what you see. You get what you see.
Tell me,
but
who is he to you?
What people didn't see is also the
I asked about other people. I want to know about you personally. I want to get into your mind.
So the way he's now, so already he's not in a supportive mode. He's in competition mode, and you're seeing that, right? It's passive aggressive behavior as far as I see it.
I want to know, what is he to you? Who is he to you?
Who he is to me right now? He's somebody that did a lot of things great, but had his flaws, and didn't correct those flaws. And he had years and years and years to correct those flaws. He didn't correct those flaws. Now I came back, and now he's incarcerated. Should he be in there? Should he be out? Someone like him shouldn't be incarcerated if they uplifting the community and doing what he did. But if you're gonna do that, and on top of that, still do the wrong thing for years and years and years, then you definitely shouldn't be out on the streets. That's if I was the devil, the perfect devil is the one who's gonna be a pastor, a preacher, or the one doing the right thing, and actually the one doing the wrong thing and send you to hell. That's the perfect devil right there. If I was a devil right now, I'd be telling you to do the right thing. I'd be telling you to live your life this way, and I'll be sending you right to hell. The devil knows the gospel as well as any pastor or preacher. So if the devil is going to do his job, what better way to do it than to have everybody lifting themselves or doing the right thing? And in actuality, it's like they're going up, but it's not just up. It's like they're going up and they're going astray. You know what I'm saying? That's the only really way that the devil could do his job, is to deceive people into thinking that he's actually God, to deceive people into thinking that he's actually Christ. That's why they say you will have false prophets and false messiahs. I would respect a wolf. If I was a sheep, I would respect a wolf that approached me and tried to hunt me down than a wolf that came in sheep clothing.
My whole argument in this whole situation is, should people be locked up based on what people believe? I got the right to be angry. You know why? Because the Lord promises me something different. The Lord promises me that we will lock people up beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's what the Lord promises me.
Yeah. But in this case, it was up to 12 people to have that reasonable doubt or not. And those 12 people make the decision.
It's not. So what's the point?
If you want to fight for
it's your matter of opinion if you would have took the plea or not.
For another reason because he's innocent of a molesting kid.
Let's say he molested 1,000 children. Factually.
Okay.
Genetic evidence and everything. Things that we don't deny scientifically. We say, wow, okay, true. If someone was to ask me, would you still worship him as your Most High, acknowledge him as your Most High God? I would have to. I don't identify with everything he does there, much like I believe most Christians don't identify with everything their God does, because it says their God is a jealous God. And some Christians would tell you it's not right to be jealous. And some would tell you that, they shouldn't be vengeful, but in the Bible it tells you the Most High is a vengeful God. And it tells you shouldn't hate, but it tells you that God loved Jacob and he hated Esau. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a difference.
So just to break down, he just said that even if this gentleman was a convicted pedophile of multiple children, and it was factual as far as he could see, he would still worship him as a deity. And this is the mindset that the brothers in. I don't know how they quantify deities and this kind of stuff, but what it is this is showing you the early mindset. I'm aware that I think one of his wives might be related to, in some format, the gentleman who's been arrested, Brother Malachi York. I don't know if that connection was really important to him picking his wife. I don't know. But in these early days, you see how he's processing information. You see, and this is what we say, like the cult of personality and it's kind of the wretched condition that many black people are in, that the messenger becomes more important than the message. You see, the messenger becomes more important than the message, and obviously this might be one of those cases. But let's got 1 more minute left, then we're gonna talk.
Between being a proud Nubian and saying that he's innocent. Okay, that's two different people. I could be a proud Nubian because I was born in Nuwapu, but it's two different kinds of people.
Are you
got
proud
people,
Nuwapian, if that's the case?
I can be, but how can I be a proud Nuwabian if the Nuwabians are saying that he's innocent and I'm saying that this happened to me?
Yeah,
so now it is. You see how we sitting down talking. That's. But see, the thing is that, now is my word against the master teacher's word, and whose word is they gonna take?
I know one thing the master teacher always taught is that when you're looking at the sides of the truth, there's his side, her side, his or her side versus his or her side. But really, in actuality, it's just the truth. It's your side, their side, and just the truth. There's only one. There's only one truth.
Yeah, I think that's enough. Let's press stop. Stop. I think welcome back, Empress Kush. I think your mic disappeared for a bit. So let's do a recap of what we've looked at. I'm just gonna meet you for a piece, Empress, and I'll be back. So the question is, let's click on this one. How should the black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members? We looked at an individual who's in what's known as, is known as the conscious community. His name was Brother Polite. We showed him there talking to a victim, or alleged victim, of an individual known as Malachi York, and he was observing his body movements and was he supportive of the claims. We can probably safely say he did not believe the claims, or even if he did, it wouldn't necessarily affect his reaction to the individual who's gone to jail for 130 years for sexual misconduct, or rape, and underage trafficking, and all this kind of stuff that they've got him on. Unfortunately, that same individual who's talking that way today has been charged with sexual misconduct, sexual battery of a minor, I believe. And there's a whole scenario there that we just listened to on the previous video. And the reason is because he was going to get his verdict today. The evidence doesn't look good in his favor, if I'm being honest. And I guess what I was observing was when children and women come forward with some of these claims, I feel that more so men, this is more important to the men, how as men react to that and present a paradigm or a feeling or a way of existing that makes the children and women feel that they can come and give their testimony and they will be protected, they will be safe, and they won't be ridiculed. What we saw there was many of the children allegedly didn't feel that they could come forward. Fair enough, they were children anyway, so a lot of it will be a new experience, and not really have any kind of reference of what is happening in the past there. So this is where it comes down to. This is a case study. We're trying to improve. Now we're joined by, well, I think we just missed Sister Kush, but we're joined by Brother Kel, who can jump in whenever he wants, if anything else to say. I do have one more video. I might not play it, and basically this video is a further. It's an individual who was talking about how he interacted with Brother Polite as it pertains to giving him money for some of his ventures. And we can listen to that. Maybe you can listen to that for. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that Empress Kush or Brother Kel would say before I potentially play that, just to help paint another picture. Is there anything you guys want to say?
Yeah, brother.
Okay, I think.
I was just doing something. I don't really know too much about Polite, you know. I don't really know too much about him.
Okay.
But
Well, let me, yeah.
no, yeah, go on, bro. Go on.
I'm gonna say. I was gonna say, yeah. For those who don't know, I came aware of him in a show called Sinetta TV, and I was very impressed with his way of articulating his arguments. And in those days, you're looking at maybe 10 years or so ago. I can't remember. A lot of those guys in America would go and debate religion, and I think it kind of sparked the Speaker's Corner religious debates where you had brothers in the UK doing similar things about black religions, and you had this kind of black people arguing with other black people or non-black people about what religion black people should be. And that seemed to be the thing of it. And they also spoke about not trusting white people and this kind of stuff. So that was the two main topics that happened on Signet that I could see, right? Religious and historical conversation, and don't trust white people. But what happened was, I think the brother became quite popular in that field, and his content went from like a new religion that he thinks black people should follow to not trusting white people to moving to Hollywood or California, and then he started talking about, well, is it okay if he dates and marries or hangs around with white women, and then how money's very important, and he wants to fulfill his dreams of being like a rapper kind of high rolling gentleman, whatever. So his topic really did change, and for me, I've seen that kind of change before. And I've also seen that kind of Instagram where they want to have lots of money, go to Hollywood and have women, especially white women. So I kind of lost interest there. But before I lost interest, that wasn't even the final thing. Like before I lost interest, in the sense of I was concerned that there was a lot of people complaining about him scamming them. His persona, like for me personally, a person could be well-to-do, well-kept, and well-presented, and still be a problematic person. But what I like to, I do value discipline, and unfortunately, when I look at these gentlemen in some of these communities, I don't see discipline. I see them going off the rails very quickly, not answering questions, having some what could be described as very shady behaviors. I guess that interview we just saw, there could be part of that, and I saw this as I see in many unfortunate brothers and sisters who become public speakers for some reason. So anyway, the moral of the story was there was many videos of him allegedly scamming, and there was one individual. There was loads, but the one that I remember focusing was a guy who gave him a lot of money, and he seemed to be mentally challenged at some point. And I've got his video where he gives his testimony of what he did, and I was potentially going to play a few minutes of it just to paint a picture, but because you guys are here, I was going to say if there's anything you want to say or but ultimately the real purpose of this isn't necessarily to judge Brother Polite. It's more so how should we as a black community react to sexual abuse claims against public members, and this comes from me. Whenever he was accused, there was a big part of people who would go on victim blaming or not assuring the victim that we're on their side until evidence comes out. And also what will happen as well, just he historically he got an argument with the guy who owns the show I saw, called Brother, and he seems to be a hardworking guy, this brother. But what I've noticed, just like many other brothers around the world, they have short tempers, and I think he got in an argument with this a few years back, Brother Polite, and he started accusing him of being a pedophile, and he started accusing him of hanging around inappropriate girls. And I'm thinking, if that's true, if you're waiting for an argument to say that, then this is not best practice, because you should be saying that before arguments happen. And yeah, he was effing and blinding, and it happened again recently with people accusing him of supporting him, and the whole effing and blinding thing. So it's just, I guess discipline's important, but also integrity. So we can unpack that at some point. But go ahead.
I think also the bar is just set so low. I just think because it was a black brother speaking some form of sense, it was like everyone just turned a blind eye, it seemed, to all of the other red flags. And I think we're ready to talk about looking for red flags and things like that in other areas of relationships, but when it's someone who's talking on behalf of all of us, I think we're, like, as a people, so desperate for the next Malcolm or the next Luther, whoever your one is. Do you know what I mean? That anyone who's even given a sniff of it, we go to and we grab. And I think it's a sign of us wanting better and to see better, which is not a problem. But it's the way that we're allowing, like what we do in other relationships, the longingness for what we want and not seeing what is actually in front of us.
Yes.
And that's the problem. I think, obviously, understanding that we adhere to a code and not a person eliminates a lot of that. But in order to move in a code, you still need ambassadors of that code, right? What we call, what do we call them?
The custodians, black custodians.
Exactly, custodians. And so, and that's what people don't understand. So when they're like, oh, we don't need a lead, we don't need a lead, we need a code. But we also, and we have a code, right? But we also need custodians. And those custodians, we need to look at all around as a whole person. We don't just look at the nice things they're saying. Just like we tell other people, don't just look at what you want. You look at the whole thing, and we need that. We need that within our community. We need to be able to do that in different areas of relationships within our community. The longing of wanting to see someone in a public eye do better and stand for something and stand for us and stand for Black love is not a problem. That's not what we should. It's are we letting those emotions override the fact that this man, like, that's why I asked, how long ago was this video? Because on this video there's blaring flags there, but this man had the biggest following.
Yes, he has a huge following. To be honest with you, that video came out after the fact, so it was like it was a video that was in someone's collection, whatever. But this video wasn't made aware of until one of the first claims, or maybe it was, but no one seemed to care. I don't know.
I think a lot of that is the case, because even if we look at what's happening closer to home with Afua Rose and what she's going through, or what if we look at what's going on with Manosphere, with Sarah and the Pearly girl, all of these things, like, there were signs. You know, it's like, that's what makes me laugh the biggest, is this, oh my god, this shock of it all. But when people were talking, I'm sure there was people talking against Polite at some point. There must have been victims, there must have been people, but no one wanted to hear it, right? And then on top of that, there will be lingos of, oh, you're trying to bring a Black man down, you're trying to shut a brother down, do you know what I mean? So, and this is this thing that I always said that I was juggling with in regards to being on code. Because at some point, if you're molesting child, you are no longer able to even talk to me about code or even expect it.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what we discussed this before. Like, what kind of acts can have you free from the community, as in, like, you're no longer under the protection of the community or any kind of code. And I pushed forward before that the abuse of women and children should be there, but also more important towards men. It's how do we react as men to the information. And you gave examples of where I have seen many men, or just collectively, dropping the ball. And I think I start the show by saying, unfortunately, there's collective inadequacies, and this is what I'm observing. So it has to be something we're aware of, and it's almost like we have to go into a forum where the claim is being made, and someone's going, okay, guys, the claim is being made. Now we're going to use this as a case study, and we're going to teach you now how to react to a potential victim. Yeah, and you know what? Saying that, we might have to actually do that. Right? That's how.
I will say though, with this, like, it's tricky, right? Because obviously, everyone's a genius in hindsight, but I feel like we're still making the same mistakes. So just using him as an example, but he is an example of many times it happens. That's why it's a good example, for example, what I'm saying. But like, when it comes to sexual assault, the first thing they will say to you is, well, we don't know all the evidence.
Yes.
And I think that's the get out clause of not putting your foot down, because no one wants to condemn an innocent man.
Yes.
Especially within our community, given our history, because that would be an innocent Black man. Right? So you've got that to contest with. But if you did use that logic of looking at the individual wholly, you'd probably be at this resolution of where he's at now a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, bro? So I think that I appreciate you saying that as men, as black men, we need to be able to tackle this, because that is so necessary. And I think what happens is that people are just so used, or I think as well, and this is when you're going to get a pushback of being a simp. Yeah. So now you're a simp because you're going against a man. You're a simp because these quote unquote black men who don't align with a black code or a code somehow align with a brother code, right? And now all of a sudden, even though something's wrong, because that's another brother, you can't talk. And this is what I mean. If we need to, those are the unhealthy things within our community that we need to shut down. A healthy brotherhood, there is nothing wrong with. In fact, it's clearly that the brothers need a brotherhood. Do you know what I'm saying? But a healthy one, because they're clinging to anything that makes them feel good for 5 minutes, and forgetting about all of the red flags around it, hence the manosphere, hence Lucy Pearl becoming their king, right? Or Pearly, whatever. Sorry, I just love Lucy Pearl, and Lucy Pearl's a great band. I don't mean to do it to them, those who know, so forgive me, but this Pearl. So I just think that, yeah, there's a lot that needs to really, that's a real conversation I think that needs to be had, because I think brothers who do want to stand on that, they will get chucked a lot of things. That again, the simp, again, now the brotherhood, why are you going against the brother? I remember he might be saying something that's actually good for the, like, I mean, I'm talking to you two. So, I mean, I'm actually preaching to the choir. I've seen it happen to you on a regular. So, you know, it's something that I think that's the real conversations that needs to be had. So I appreciate you doing that. And I think, you know,
I would,
yeah,
I would say, right, is that the community has to inspect the charismatic of us, the ones who are self-love, the ones who appear to have a religious type of background or a non-religious background, the ones who are scared of non-African people and can be easily controlled, greedy ego. These qualities you have to be careful of. And when Brother Raven's explaining, I don't know, Brother Polite, but one thing I learned when I was in 104 People Road and that, right, is that any black leader that wants to do something on their own, that's a red, because when you're doing something on your own without the collective, you are stimulating the mind of black people to see you as a prophet. We all suffer from that. You know what I mean? So anytime, oh, I'm going to do something on my own without, as what Sister Kushi was saying, a collective, and that's a red flag, because you're not free from error. A lot of the black leaders we know, they fell into a lot of stuff. And a lot of the time it's because they didn't have the mindset of being checked by the collective. There's nothing wrong with being checked by the collective. There's nothing wrong if you make a mistake, going to people and saying, you know what, I'm in problems, can you help me out? And that. But I noticed that they don't do them things. So the community needs to check that. Any black leader, male or female, that wants to do something on their own and have those qualities and that's a red flag if it's not controlled, man.
Because you're not willing now to look at the other side of the argument. You're not willing to listen to the other point of view because you've got all the answers. That's the problem. And that's the thing, and don't get me wrong, like, we all want to see it. I'm a part of the collective. I want to see it represented, but this, and what it causes now is hardened hearts. You know, broken hearts causes hardened hearts. So the next one that wants to come through, do you know how much harder he has to prove himself? Rightfully so now. And the thing is, he'll get his accolades when he gets there, when we recognize. But you're gonna have to really work hard now to prove yourself. But once you're there, you've got us forever. But understand now that it makes it harder. And this is what I'm saying. I think that this lax kind of attitude to these men that we put on these pedestals is also to enable a lax kind of passage to get there. So, for example, if the person that I'm holding as a leader can abuse women, be arrogant, still hustle, then everyone can.
if this is our pinnacle, if we're saying this is the best of us, then now everyone's standards is dropped. And you know who likes that? The people who don't want to work harder, the people who are comfortable in the grey, the people who are comfortable in just not wanting it any better. And that's the problem. And I think that those men within the community who know better have to speak out. And I understand the code of the brotherhood. I understand the backlash and things like that. But in the end, the model coddling don't work. In the end, the allowing them don't work, because now that, like what we have now with Polite, the next brother coming through, even though he does 5-10 hard good works, he has to do another 5-10, because so did Polite did 6. Do you know what I mean? Kevin Samuel did 100. Do you know what I mean? So you have to prove yourself now. And this is why it doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't even benefit doing it the tactical paced way, because they don't even value it. They don't even respect it. Do you understand? They don't even see it. They don't even see when you're giving them a blight. They don't even see when you're coming to them with respect. So why are we doing it? And I think that's why we've got so many people, so many good people within the community who are now saying that, you know what, I'm going to do my thing, I'm going to live right, but I'm not associated to this black thing no more. And they're the ones that we should be worrying about, not these ones who are running feral, know better, and still doing all of it. And that's why people are just getting disenchanted with it. So I think it's good to have these real deep conversations into why are we actually allowing it? Why are we, and Brother Raven and Cal's right, having these random, oh no, he did it. Well, really, is it, oh no, let's look back. That red flag there, oh, that red flag there, that red flag there. And we could probably say it with most of the people that are doing this, that are in scandal now. So it's a part of us about who we take in, even though I understand why as a people we do that. I think we need to go, it's with love. I don't think we should move it in the spirit of, it's hating or putting a brother down. It's actually with love that I'm asking you these questions. You'd rather me ask with a loving heart than it getting out and it's getting polarized and twist around and clickbaited and everything else. So yeah.
I think me personally, I think there's much error proneness I witness when I look at the groups these brothers hang around and how they communicate publicly. And the reason I say this is when you look at Amos Wilson or Francis Cress Wilson or Marcus Garvey or John Henrik Clark or Dr. Ben Yakanam or Stokely Carmichael, when you look at them in a past tense, speaking on camera or speaking in general, you see a kind of decorum, discipline, respectability. We've kind of it's almost like watching a blaxploitation film when you see these brothers, and it's very easy to rile them up. All you do is make fun of them, and then you'll see 1,000 self-hating kind of comments that will fling from their mouth, and it's almost like all of them. So we're really in a very bad way. So I think we need to kind of have a standard, and I would like to think that this show tries to push for that standard with, at the very least, how we communicate with each other. The expectation on this show is one of respect, and we're trying to find solutions rather than, because I went on another show and I think people were coming in saying, I think one guy was against one guy because he felt he supported Brother Polite, and the other guy says, I'm holding back my judgment until I see the verdict. And the people were chiming in, trying to stir kind of beef between the two. And once again, the whole cause was just lost. There was name calling, and it's just, we need to really get management over some of these behavioral patterns. And the truth of the matter is, we're at the age of the internet, the age of YouTube, where anyone can make a podcast and have a spotlight. There's no rules that people have to tick. So I guess what it does come down to is, what I'm saying is, us men, we have to either call out or make the code we follow very apparent, and try to create a space where women and children feel comfortable to let us know if anything's going right or wrong.
And this show definitely does that, Brother Raven. You know what I mean? It's not always going to be perfect. Remember, we're human beings and that. but I like to say that it does provide that service for you know, especially for the women. Well, I was going to say that you know, when it comes to sexual abuse,
Yes.
one thing that we need to do as a community is that whenever one of us enters in that, then the community should kind of reprimand them, tell them to step down, and then more custodians uplift that movement. Because I was listening to what the Malachi York situation. A lot of us grew up on his teachings, you know, in London and Birmingham, etc. And there was these things that happen. However, we shouldn't kind of get rid of the movement. I think we do that too much. When something bad happens with one of us, then everyone goes back to sleep. So we should have that mindset of, okay, you came wrong for the movement. So there's, you know, other ones that can
But
uplift it.
absolutely, bro. But I think that's
Yeah,
why you believe in the code, right? Or the movement or the message and not the individual. And that's why we
yeah,
need to like,
exactly.
and even the next custodian who comes through, right? Because I'm not even gonna say leader, the next custodian of the code who comes through is a person. The way that he will be, one of the ticks for me will be that he, especially from what you said about always wanting to be the leader, will always reiterate that it's not me, it's the message. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it gets in
Yeah,
people's,
exactly.
yeah, so people get trained to
Yeah.
understand that this person is just speaking what we all know. And that also stops that godly effect as well, that that person that can't never be questioned or ask questions. Do you understand? They're just reiterating a message that we already know, and if we don't know, we should know. You know what I mean? So let me be
Yeah.
cheeky and put address the elephant in the
'Cause
room, because
sometimes, you know, sometimes you know, we as the black community, we can we can use the spirit of issue on our leaders, you know. We can kind of praise them too much,
yeah,
you understand?
absolutely,
And that can give them, you know, it's like we can use what's it called again now? It's like you've got Ugwu is the good part of it, and you got how do you say Ugwu is where it's like, you know, when you do the wrong type of bad spirit on someone,
yeah,
right? So exactly what you said, if we can kind of just kind of, you know, oh, you done good, or Black Betterment did good. Yeah, I learned this from the black, you know what I mean? If we put it all onto the organization instead of the individual, then I reckon that will lessen certain mindsets
yeah.
of kind of ego and self-praise to sabotage, because I don't think we can handle too much compliments, to be honest with you. It's
I,
not good
I,
for us.
I hear where you guys are coming from, and I think one thing with this platform is we start by certain kind of rules and things we want to uphold. So if we fall short of them, at least we have defined what we're trying to achieve, and we try to get things back in order if they fall from that particular code. I think you're right in the sense of if a person should always be saying it's not about me, it's about the collective, it's about the code,
Mm-hmm.
and if they fall short as they will, they step down and someone else takes over. I think that's a very important thing.
Yeah,
A very
yeah,
important thing. Institutions over individuals. It has to be that
It
way.
has to be.
most
I
definitely.
think that should be one of our biggest lessons that we learn. And don't get me wrong, you know, anything that we uplift is gonna be great. So it's the same thing as an individual, and you know that there ain't no better praise than a black woman praising you. Like ask Denzel Washington. Do you know what I mean? He's been living happily and
Yeah,
comfortable because he understood the code. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
He's got 5 sons, a good
cool,
happy wife, comfortable in Hollywood, had a long years.
cool,
If you really think
cool.
about it, he's very rare and he understood the code. So there's a power in your people loving you that no other,
Power.
even the outside community knows there's a problem. That's why the CIA said there will never be another black messiah ever. And
That's right.
and
That's
there
right.
hasn't been since. So they know the power of us loving someone. Do you know what I mean? But I think, and people are only human, you know, like, so that's why it's so important to have custodians, because it's
Yeah,
inevitable that having that much love is going to blow up someone's head, even the greatest person. So what we don't try and
yeah,
human. We don't try and cancel the human nature that's in someone. It's human nature. Doesn't make them a bad person. It will happen to anybody. What we do is we put up measurements to set up for if that happens. And the best way to do that is to let that person know that, listen, you're here, that you're loved. You're here and you're loved, but you're here and you're loved because you're doing the right thing. You will be questioned by custodians on a weekly, monthly basis. And for you to, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's what is that saying? To great whoever gets great rewards, great expectation must happen. So if you've got all of this, you're not just going to get it for nothing. That's the problem. We're giving these people our love, our clicks, our donations just by saying something good. That's what I mean. The base is so low. So yeah, I think it's inevitable that whoever's a custodian, or in these positions, they're going to have a big head. But you need people around you, and they need to understand that the way things goes around now is different. You're not a lone island. You are accountable to people constantly. You will be having to be accountable to people, just like it happens in any kind of democratic community that's happened. These people who are leaders have to be accountable. These men get on live and then just cuss off the people that just gave them the position there on a flip of a switch.
Yeah.
And there's no one there to question them. Why? Because there's no standard, there's no procedure to have people to question him. You question him now, he's like, who are you to me? You can't tell me nothing. But if that was the standard, he'd have to shut up. He'd already be, he wouldn't even be at that position there, right? He'd already been, okay, we've had a meeting, you've not come to 3 of them, you're already gone.
There has to be
because the collective works. It's not about the individual. It's the movement said so. So now, even if he tried to talk one away and did one on an island and just done a YouTube and talked, he would have no basis, because everyone would know that the national message, the statement from the collective is, he's not one of us. So no, we don't care what he says, just like what the Jews do. Just like what other community do. Once you're out, you're out. You can talk all you like. We're not listening, and that you don't represent us. So now you're a joke to other communities, because other communities can say, well, even your own people have said you're out. That thing don't run in your community. So I think sometimes we just got to be like, a bit more realistic with things and have these kind of real conversations, and then understand that we're human. Like, it's not bad to want it, but we've got to put things around it. We have to safeguard these, man. We have to fence it.
Yeah, I agree, and I do think having things we agree on is important, and I think with this individual brother who we used as a case study, his ideology shifted. So even though the first thing is he went solo and did his thing, whatever, but his ideology shifted where his YouTube page was showing European women in African garments and asking people like, don't they look good, this kind of stuff. And it's like quite an extreme dynamic change. That's one kind of thing, but obviously more concerning than that, if it could be, is the fact that the multitude of people saying they've given him money and he hasn't given them their product, or what he's given them isn't what he said it would be, this kind of stuff. We have one video. We can watch it just to see, because that's another thing. One of the things through speaking publicly and meeting people, you see many vulnerable brothers and sisters who have been through a tremendous amount of pain, and it's almost like they're looking for some kind of like release, and then they put all their eggs in a person with much charisma's a basket. And matter of fact, let me actually show you this, because I think that's what the case that I want on this one isn't necessarily focusing on the claims against the Polite, but the attitude and behavioral pattern of the person making the claim. We'll just watch about 3 minutes or so of it. Stop sharing. Here we go. This one. Video. Let's see if I can find it now. Hold on. So that one.
Let's see when you.
So that one. Hold on. This one. So I think, unfortunately, I think his brother passed away. He might have taken his own life. I could be wrong, but it's why I heard when the research this a few years back.
It's your boy Crypto Sports, and I really feel like I need to express myself because I'm having some very unhealthy thoughts in my head, and I want to tell you the absolute truth about my experience with Brother Polite as his mentee. Like, I'm not lying. There's no reason to lie. I'm not trying to get anything that I don't deserve back.
Wait,
I
sorry,
just
pause, bro.
want.
Yes.
I just need clarification. Is that the same brother that I just saw before?
You know, it's funny you say that because when I looked at him, I thought, is this the same brother? But it's not.
Okay.
It's actually a different brother.
Okay.
It's almost like there's a certain look that he's drawn towards Brother Polite. I don't know what it is, right? But it's not him. No,
Okay.
it's a different.
Yeah, because he said that
Yeah.
he was his
Mentee.
yeah, exactly. All right, cool.
Yeah. But they do look the same. Let's go. Let's go.
The money I invested back. So I'm starting from the beginning. This may seem like a long story. It's a lot going on. And so I was in Hawaii doing my thing, studying crypto, studying programming. And like I said in my other videos, I knew I had to make sacrifices. So I slept on the beach in a hammock and was just grinding until my programming skills were good enough. And, you know what I'm saying? And it just so happened that my father died. We weren't that close, but I was on my own for a long time, since I was 16, 17. I've been on my own, you know? I haven't lived with him, and we weren't that close. But he ended up having a heart attack. He ended up dying, and then I found out that I was gonna get some life insurance money. And it just so happened I needed it, because I only had like 45 cents in my bank account. I just was grinding, just saving my crypto. I didn't want to sell my crypto. I knew that one day it would go up. And I was just freelancing, hustling, farming, trying to get any paper I could to survive while So I ended up getting that money. And I thought I had two major decisions I could have made. And the first one was just to buy Bitcoin and then travel Asia, South Korea, Asia. And other was to I've been following Brother Polite. Like, he woke me up into consciousness. Like, he was the main reason, that and Bitcoin. And I told him this, you woke me up into consciousness. And I started following his teachings. I started doing the tax liens. I bought a few of his books. A few orders didn't come through. I didn't trip on it. I just charged that to the game. And I love this brother. I really, really, really love this brother from the bottom of my heart. I didn't even know him. All I knew.
So I think I might be muted. I paused it there. What I was saying is, I want you to notice that he's quite kind towards Brother Polite, and they really highlighted that he ordered some books and some didn't come in, and he's still quite forgiving, even in this kind of like expose kind of video.
Of him, or was virtually from what?
Once again, what we're watching is, let's say, looking at the claims made against Brother Polite. We're looking at the vulnerability of the individuals, and there's many in the black community like him, and just how these individuals really gather towards cult personalities and this kind of stuff.
What I saw virtually, and I knew that he had a lot of hate, a lot of people hating him, and I didn't necessarily understand why. And everyone's calling him a scammer, people call him a fraud, people this.
So these people are very easy to manipulate. He said that he's basically living on the beach since he was 17. He wasn't with his family. He's inherited a lot of money from his deceased dad, which he just discovered, and he was trying to somehow learn how to do cryptocurrency and programming. And I think this is what his interest was for some reason. And he's awakened this to consciousness, whatever that means to him, came from listening to Brother Polite speak on some kind of YouTube channel.
And against my own better judgment, I chose to believe that he had a powerful message, and that, that it could really help our people, our black people out. So I hit him up one time for the mentorship because I was so inspired after watching one of his live streams. But when he hit me back, I didn't have the money, and I felt so bad, so terrible. I felt like I missed out on an opportunity to change my finances and change my life and be Brother Polite's mentee. So I said, man, if I ever have the money, it was $3,500 for the minimal mentee. If I ever had that money, I would invest it with Brother Polite, and I would change my life, you know, financially, and you know. So I had the money. It was over 100 grand.
So just to be clear, he inherited £100,000. I don't know how how
Wow.
lucrative. Yeah, I don't know how lucrative crypto is for certain people. I mean, some people they're probably rolling in cash, but if you had £100,000 in crypto that you could cash into real cash, you should be very happy. What this guy has, he's actually been given something that he's trying to earn already. Now, I won't play the whole thing, but the moral of the story is he ends up giving all his money to Brother Polite, 100,000. And the reason of this video is he doesn't want any profits. He wants it back because he has no money to live. What he goes on to say is, I mean, it's a good video for you to listen to. He gave him the money. He told him to fly to the area. And when he flew there, he realized that Brother Polite wasn't living how he said he was living, as in he was renting houses, this kind of stuff. But his job was to drive Brother Polite and his girlfriends around and pay for their lunch and dinner. And so he says, and he was constantly giving him money, and he realized that a lot of the things he was saying he wasn't necessarily doing. For example, I think he said he might have had a history of being an alcoholic or something like this, so trying not to be alcoholic. So I think Brother Polite asked him to buy a drink, and then he said, I can't buy you a drink because I don't drink, and I won't buy you a drink because it's part of my program not to buy drinks for anyone. And then he took the money and bought a whole lot of junk and this kind of stuff. And he thought, I thought you were like a vegan or whatever it might be. Like this. So yeah, it's very interesting to listen to. But what the story unfolds is how a person is quite gullible, looking for some kind of father figure. And I think even to an extent, Brother Polite is that way himself, because he did say, even if this is Brother Polite now, even if he found out that Malachi York molested thousands of children, he will still worship him as a deity. So you see how these people like it's like they're looking for that savior, that kind of God figure, that person's gonna make their life make sense. And even this brother, like, I mean, to come across £100,000 like that can change a lot of people's lives, take or give. And the fact that that wasn't even seen as a blessing, it was more so, let me give all this to Brother Polite for a metaphor, whatever it might be, is a bit, a bit problematic. But let me see if I can skip just to a middle bit to see if he just starts saying more things, and then we'll end the bravado. So let's just see what he says. Hold on.
Don't need me to drop it off, I'll drop it off. And I'm like, all right. He's like, yo, I'm busy. And I'm like, okay. And then I think the next day comes by and nothing yet. And I'm like, he's like, no, I just wanted the car to be ready. It was raining. Somebody else went and washed the car. The car washed and that. And so straight up, no fucking car.
Forgive the swearing.
And I really think the next step after that, yeah. So that's what happened. And I don't know, for some reason I let it go, because the next thing was like, yo, I'm about to go to Vegas this weekend. You want to come with me? I'm about to go in the music studio in Vegas. I want to see if you want to come with me. You want to come.
So essentially what this gentleman is doing, he's driving and providing for Brother Polite, and they invite him to things that he's driving them to, but he's paying for everyone. He's paying for the family, he's paying for himself, and I don't think they even let him sleep in the houses that he's paying for, help paying for. He sleeps in his car, which it might not be his car, he might be renting a car as well. There's a brother, I don't want to go too much on it, but there's a brother who's in jail at the moment called what was his name? Some Nature Boy. And I've done a bit of research, but not too much. But a similar thing seemed to happen with him, with people who inherit money and then go around and give them the money. So this time we had to like protect people from this. We need to, when we form institutions, we need to write certain things so this kind of manipulation doesn't happen. There's many gullible people in the community, and just because they're gullible doesn't mean they deserve to be scammed. So it's something that we need to really review and work on. But hopefully, we just play a few minutes of that. Hopefully, you're seeing, and there's many people like him who wanted to buy these things that he was doing, didn't receive it, and then they made their YouTube video saying they're not best pleased. And unfortunately, I think this brother might have passed away. I'm not too sure. I want to say that's what happened, unfortunately. So yeah, this is the case study. This is the case study at the moment. We're almost come to the show's 2 hours, but anything we want to talk about in the last segment, we can. By all means, you can jump. Anyone can jump in. The links at the top. We're joined by 2 guests. I think Empress Kush might be busy at the moment, but Brother Kel has been fortunately here. So I guess I'll leave it to you guys. Anything you want to say, you can. If not, we will wrap it up very soon. Switch that one. Here we go. Did you do that? So new interface. This is. Yeah. So guys, let's wrap up what we're doing. It's how should the black community react to sexual abuse claims against the public members? I'm saying that whenever the people come forward over their children or women, the men must assure them that we take them serious. I say that we don't use any kind of profanity or derogatory terms as we're discussing the scenario. Okay, and Empress Kushti said, which is good. And as men, we want to assure them, although we do want to recognize we are evidence-based, but at the same token, we don't want to demonize the person who comes forward or create an environment where they can't come forward. And we're going to have to try to have a tangible step-by-step way of doing that at some point. We'll push it into the program, and we'll make some scenarios of someone coming in and how we should react collectively. Anything you want to say? You think, oh yeah, you are backstage. On my days, yeah. Sorry about that. When you say, hey, there you go. Yeah, you're. I think you pressed. I don't know if you pressed the button yourself. If you can, maybe you can't. But you're now front stage, Empress Kushti. It's a switch.
Wow,
like
I just got outed at the community. I just got shunned.
There you go. Do you see a blue switch? Because I can see. Can you see a blue
not
switch?
A good feeling. I think this is a good tactic. Honestly, I was like, hello.
Well, yeah. Well, we can use it as a test if someone goes against the code. We'll use that kind of the blue switch. Blue switch of death. We should call it. Yes. Anything that your family want to say before we wrap up about this topic or anything?
No, I just think it's a really good topic to really delve into it and have an honest conversation about it. I think perhaps I probably came in and derailed it because I know you was trying to have more of an accountability and talk about it in regards to men, and I think that conversation needs to happen. So I don't know if you want to do a part 2 to it, but yeah, I just think it was so apologies for that, but I just think it was a really good topic and the way that we delve into it, and I think these kind of conversations needs to happen more. So yeah, what he's doing is wrong and he's getting condemned anyway, so that's happening, but I think there needs us to start having an adult conversation, being like, okay, this has happened a few times now, and what needs to be put in place, and how do we start looking at these people as an individual basis? What kind of scrutiny are we really giving to people to say that they're talking on our behalf? So yeah, great chat.
Brother Cal? Any last words, Brother Cal?
Oh yeah, we have to be a bit more attentive with those who look at us in high regard. Like I was watching the video of the brother, and there's loads of red flags. A lot of the leaders, the charismatic leaders, they take the form or the identity of the prophet identity, which stimulates our dopamines, which we have anyway, for any leader to see them as righteous, and then they follow us, and then we can manipulate them in the wrong way. So I believe we need to kind of anyone that's following the movement, it's to inspire, influence, and at the same time teach them the code of conduct so they can also be part of it, instead of them, on our ankles. So just for their protection as well as the one that's bringing them to the movement. So it works, both ways. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So until next week, everyone, Black Batman to everyone, and we might continue this next week. Or we might do something else. We might also cover some Black Pound Day or something as well. Who knows? But yeah, good show. We've got much work to do, but we might. It's very important, so we'll try to maybe expand it next week as well. Who knows? But until then, Black Batman to everyone. Black Batman.
Black
Black Batman.